Alright, so now that the trailer is out, and probably everyone has seen it by now, especially the creators that are most certainly at Bungie right now. Family trips? Yeah, sure, whatever. That's the most NDA thing I've ever read. But anyway, now that the trailer is out and we've all had a good kind of look at what to expect from Renegades and, what's coming our way, the Game Post have posted a article with all of the exotics and a little bit of a breakdown, and I wanted to check it out with you guys and just kind of get the opinion of what other people are thinking. So let's have a look and let's read through this and let's just kind of digest what other people are saying. Bungie has released a brand new Destiny 2 Renegades trailer showing off new exotic gear, including the Praxic Blade, heirloom crossbow, and more coming in December. Destiny 2's next expansion, Renegades, is officially launching on December 2nd, 2025, and it's bringing some big new changes with it. Set on Mars, the Star Wars themed expansion puts players in the role of a space outlaw, taking on jobs, building trust with shady factions, and completing missions however they want. At the heart of it is Lawless Frontier, a new activity that lets you choose contracts across multiple planets and complete them solo or with other players. Bungie is also revamping the progression throughout the New Order system, aimed at simplifying rewards and giving players more freedom with their loadouts. A new social hub called Tharsis Outpost will act as your main base during the expansion. We've seen a little bit of Tharsis with the Renegades trailer today, as well as, they've showed it off previously in, the dev stream as well, which I think looks really, really cool. When I think of Star Wars, I think of space battles, and I would absolutely love for there to be a day when we actually get to have space battles, and I mean in our ship, and actually use our ship and fly about and shoot and all that sort of stuff. That's a huge part of Star Wars, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, maybe that's just like a pipe dream that's never gonna happen. But anyway, the Game Post go on to say that now Bungie has dropped a brand new trailer to showcase some of the weapons and exotic armor that will be arriving in Renegades that launches next month. The all new weapons and exotics shown in Destiny 2 Renegades. Based on the trailer, Renegades will introduce at least 6 new legendary weapons and 5 new exotic gear across all 3 classes. Of course, Bungie loves surprises, so it's safe to assume that there are more hidden exotics waiting to be discovered when the expansion drops. For now, here's everything that's been shown so far. So we've got Uncivil Discourse hand cannon, we've got modified B7 pistol hand cannon, we've got the All or Nothing pulse rifle, we've got refurbished A499 heavy sniper rifle, we've got the M17 fast talker submachine gun. That's a stasis submachine gun as well, which I think is super cool. We've got a compact defender sidearm, I believe that's the Void sidearm. We've got Fortune's Favor Hunter exotic legs, we've got the Praxis Vestment Titan exotic chest piece, and we've got the Daimo Fusion or Daimo Suffusion Warlock exotic helmet, the Praxic Blade, which is the lightsaber, and we've got the heirloom crossbow exotic weapon as well. So we've got 2 exotics right there. We know that the Praxic Blade is going to be tied to the dungeon, so that's a dungeon exotic too. Maybe the heirloom crossbow is the season pass exotic, in which case, what other exotics are there to actually earn in the game other than the armor, right? If this is the only 2 exotic weapons that we're going to be getting, I don't know, maybe there's something more coming in the future, but I hope so, because a season pass exotic and a dungeon exotic, it literally leaves no exotic weapon for the campaign. Let's go over everything revealed in the trailer. So we've got Uncivil Discourse, the Arc hand cannon. I think it looks cool. I do like that. Obviously, it's Han Solo themed, which I'm sure will cross a lot of people's boxes. Again, I'm talking from the perspective of not being a huge Star Wars fan. I want to enjoy Destiny because it's Destiny. I don't want to enjoy Renegades because there's a Cabal trooper that looks like a stormtrooper, or there's a giant robot that looks like a giant robot from fucking Star Wars, or oh my god, this gun reminds me of this gun from Star Wars, therefore I love Destiny. Like, I don't want it to be that. I want Destiny to be lovable because it's its own thing, which they say it is. Obviously, it's a homage to Star Wars, and I've spoken about this many times. It's just the more I see Renegades, the more I just see a Star Wars adaptation, and I just don't want the game to forget what it actually is, which is Destiny. It is not Star Wars. I don't want it to be good because it's Star Wars. I want it to be good because it's Destiny. Moving on from that, we've got the modified B7 pistol, which is a stasis hand cannon. Again, looks pretty cool. We've got the All or Nothing Strand Pulse Rifle. I thought that was kind of like a handheld minigun, but there you go. I think that still looks cool. Refurbished A499 Heavy Sniper Rifle. Again, this is obviously inspired by Star Wars. I wonder if you can actually use the end of this, kind of like how you can use the end of Monte Carlo. We've got the M17 Fast Talker Submachine Gun. Again, I believe that is Stasis. I want to say that that is a Stasis submachine gun. And finishing off here, we've got the Compact Defender, which is the Void Sidearm. So I think the post goes on to say, yeah, it does here. So according to Bungie, Renegades will introduce 1 exotic armor piece for each class along with 2 exotic weapons, bringing the total to 5 new exotics shown so far. Here's a quick look at each one. So yeah, everything that we've seen so far is legendary. Now we're going to move on to the exotics. Alright, so we've got Fortune's Favor, which is the exotic legs. This is probably the one that's the most underwhelming out of all 3 that was shown in the trailer, in my opinion. So shield recharges over time into an overshield. Now the reason why I think that this is going to be fairly redundant very quickly is because there are much better exotics for hunters that are still very meta that I think a lot of hunter mains are going to want to use instead of this. I think it's going to get to the point where the hype for these exotic legs die out very quickly. People are going to use it because it's brand new and it's fun and they probably want to try it out with different builds. But I think ultimately once this is said and done, people are going to go back to the typical meta hunter loadout. And plus, you know, hunters have many ways in the game that they can get a void overshield as it is. I don't think an exotic dedicated to an overshield is a really good use for an exotic. That's just my opinion. I think I have seen a few hunter mains on Twitter complain about that as well. Moving on, we've got the one that stands out the most, which is the Praxic Vestment, which is a Titan chest exotic. Gain an advanced tactical air move. So very Gundam here. You can basically launch off into the sky and basically fly. 3 things actually come to my mind when I think about this. One, is the flight mechanic something that you unlock with a certain amount of kills, or is it like a meter that fills up over time in order for you to actually use the perk? 2, how long can you actually fly for? And 3, does it replace your barricade, or is it like Icarus Dash for Warlock, where it's an extra thing that you can do on top of your class ability? Again, we'll have to see what usability it actually has in the game. I'm sure it's going to be very fun. To me, it's the most fun-looking one out of all of them. And again, in my opinion, like I said in my reaction, I think this is exactly what an exotic should be. An exotic armor piece for each class, I think, should be a new way to play that class. And that's just my opinion. Like, having an exotic pair of legs that influences an overshield, I think is such a missed opportunity, and I actually do feel bad for hunters out there. I genuinely think that armor exotic pieces should give you a brand new dynamic way to play that class and not just simply give you an overshield. We're talking about a fucking exotic. There are weapons in the game that give you an overshield, let alone an exotic pair of legs. I don't know. I'm not a hunter main, so I don't care. I actually can't stand hunters anyway in the fucking game as it is, so whatever. But yeah, I do think that this is the most exotic perk that we're kind of getting for the armor that's coming in Renegades. I think it looks fun. I think it's cool. But again, I don't know how long or how viable it's going to be actually in the game. But again, I do think it looks really cool. And moving on, we have got my class that I main in the game, which is Warlock. And we've got Daimo Suffusion. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Daimo something or other. Warlock Exotic Helmet. So, Rift suspends enemies. Suspend causes damage over time. So, again, this damage over time stuff, I don't know what type of damage that's going to be. Maybe it's strand damage. Maybe it causes unravel. I don't know. It's not very specific. There have been other times when the blurb that they kind of say about exotics don't always describe the full extent of what the exotic does. That has happened in the past, but again, we'll just see. But I do think that this is going to be fairly potent. I have a suspend build that I use right now in the game for strand, and I have to convert my grenade to do it. So the fact that I can actually just put down this rift and just save my grenade, I think is really good. I do like that, and it kind of reminds me of the stasis freeze rift in PvP as well. The fact that you can just put your rift down and freeze someone with stasis in PvP, I think is fairly strong. Being able to put your rift down and immediately suspend someone in PvP, I think is also really strong. And, you know, if you're in an intense gunfight and that person's really low, and this thing does damage over time as well, it might be a trade. You know what I mean? Imagine they get the kill on you because you've suspended them and they can still melee you or shoot you, but then that damage over time is enough to tick them over the edge so that you actually get the kill as well. Again, we'll test it out. We'll see how much damage it actually does. Obviously, we don't know what it is just yet, but I think it's fun. I think in terms of all 3 of them, I think the Warlock has the most viable one. Hunters have been absolutely shafted. Titans, it's really fun. It looks cool. I think it's going to be a really fun gimmick thing to use. But in terms of viability, I think the Warlock's got the most viable option, to be honest with you. It's got crowd control, and it can really fucking annoy you in PvP as well, to be quite honest. And moving on from that, we've got the Praxic Blade, which is obviously the lightsaber. The kinetic exotic sword reflects incoming fire, melee, and range attacks. Now, this is going to be really interesting. Again, I cannot help but think about PvP. If this thing reflects bullets, then is it going to be similar to how glaives work, where you have the shield that you can put up and you've got a meter that slowly kind of drains over time with how long that shield will last in PvP? Maybe it's the same with the lightsabers, whereby you have a meter and you can only block incoming fire so long as that meter is available, and then when that meter depletes, you can no longer kind of reflect oncoming fire, if that makes sense. Maybe that's how it works, because again, it is obviously different to glaives, whereby glaives don't reflect the bullets that come at the glaive, whereas this thing does. So if I'm shooting someone with Thorn and they bang out a fucking exotic saber that can reflect my Thorn shots, does that mean that I'm now taking the damage from Thorn as well as the bite over time that it does as well? So I really want to see how that works in PvP, because obviously you're not going to be able to consistently block all incoming damage from other guardians. I can imagine there is some meter of some sorts that maybe you actually have to fill by getting kills as well. Maybe that meter fills up over time from the kills you get with the exotic sword, just to kind of balance it out. I don't know, but that's the thing that comes to my mind. I guess my suggestion, what I've said, does kind of make sense, because that's typically how the game would work in the style that it does. But again, we'll just have to see. I'm not really too big on the lightsaber. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to offend anyone, because I know that Star Wars has some diehard fans. But the saber, it kind of is what it is. And, you know, if it's in the kinetic slot, then it does take away from me using some of my other favorite weapons, because I'm a huge Weapons of Sorrow guy. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I'm not going to get too deep into the Weapon of Sorrow thing. The fact that they're bringing a new Dredgen into Renegades, and that Dredgen has a lightsaber, and the whole lore of the Dredgen is that they have a dedicated Weapon of Sorrow, but they're going to replace that Weapon of Sorrow with a lightsaber. I will absolutely lose my shit if that is actually the direction they go in with this. But I'm not going to get too deep on the lore. I'm not going to talk too deep on how much of a missed opportunity that would be, and how it literally doesn't make sense for the lore of the actual Dredgen name as well. But we're going to park that to one side. Moving on from that, we have got the Heirloom Exotic Combat Bow. Fires high-powered explosive bolts. So basically, it is a handheld Leviathan's Breath, pretty much. I don't really know what else to say about it. I don't know what archetype it is. Maybe I can go back into the trailer and find out, because I'm sure it's there. But yeah, it's an exotic bow that does a lot of damage and probably explodes on impact. It might even be solar at that point. And the post finishes off by saying that, what do you think of the new exotics so far and the exotic weapons? And that's a good point. It kind of leads into what I'm saying. Like, guys, I really want your opinion on this. What do you think of the armor? What do you think of the weapons? And what do you think of the overall style of Renegades? Are you excited simply because you're a Star Wars fan and you like Star Wars? Or are you a little bit cautious like me, whereby you're not so much of a Star Wars fan, but you're a huge Destiny fan over the last decade of us playing this game, and you just want Destiny to be good because it's Destiny, not because it's taking homage from something else? We'll have to see what direction they go in. I do trust Alison Lurs quite heavily, to be honest with you, because ever since she's come into, you know, Bungie, things have been working really well. And despite how bad you think the game is right now, the only thing that actually seems to be working quite consistently well is the lore of Destiny and the story of Destiny. So I think it's going to be okay. I do think in terms of lore and story, we're in a really safe position right now. But again, I really want to get your thoughts and opinion on this, because I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't really know what to think, and I don't really know what to feel. When I see brand new content for this game, it's very easy to get really hyped and really excited for it. But then when you take a step back and kind of understand the reality of it, I don't know, there's a few things that I kind of question. But again, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comment section below. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, join the Discord server. Let's have a conversation. Guys, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, and take care.